If writing is thinking, exactly how do we think through writing? In this video, I discuss how writing leads to clarity of thought for the writer and facilitate precision of expression for the benefit of the reader. I present my process on getting started in writing an academic manuscript or getting unstuck, and how to think more efficiently through writing. My mantra is, write it right now. Now, write it right. Let's see what that looks like. Write it right now is a 3-step process where you try to get out your thoughts on paper and you interrogate them and you sort through them. So step 1 is to write it out. So do a brain dump. Whatever is in your head, it doesn't matter whether it's relevant or not. It doesn't matter whether it's within scope or not. You just write it down. For this, I have a process that I call a writing sprint. So in 25 minutes, I just sit and I write whatever I can manage in relation to the topic that I'm interested in. Then whatever is in my mind is now out there. It's in a place where it will sit for all time. Now, when I have this text written out, step 2 is to sort through the text. So in this case, I'm still looking for high-level ways of engaging with the text. So if I would look at what I have produced, what is there and relevant for the problem that I would like to discuss, what is irrelevant, and is it still worth keeping for something else? So can I just put it aside and save it for another project or idea? Or is it entirely useless? I can delete it and it gets forgotten. So in step 2, you sort through the text that you have generated. You only keep what is necessary. You put aside what you might not need and you get rid of stuff that is irrelevant. Step 3, interrogate the outputs that you have generated. So now this is the opportunity for you to think more critically about what you have written. So for example, does this make sense? Are there any logical flaws in my ideas that need to be addressed? Is it valid? So if I make a particular claim about the state of knowledge in a particular field or in relation to a particular problem, am I supposed to go back and actually check in the literature that my claims hold? Because if they are invalid, that's going to invalidate the rest of the work that I have generated. And what else do I need to know? So sometimes it could be that you find out there are things you knew pleasantly that you didn't realize you knew. But also on the other side of this is that you realize that there's knowledge you didn't realize you were lacking, but now you know that you lack that knowledge. So through the interrogation phase, you are going to make some considerations about whether the claims or the ideas that you are presenting or the arguments that you are beginning to construct make sense. You are going to be self-critical in terms of whether those things are valid, so they reflect what is already out there in the literature. And finally, they will help you to identify the knowledge gaps that you still have. And then they will give you a very structured way of going back into the literature to try and read more on those particular things and fill those knowledge gaps in order to be able to continue with the writing process. So you have just gone through the preliminary steps of sorting through whatever ideas you have and interrogating them. And now is the time to start writing this out properly. So within this, there are 3 main things that you will have to do. So you become much more focused on the level of detail in terms of the arguments and big ideas captured within paragraphs. You will also be mindful of any ideas that come up as part of the process and having some kind of system for making decisions about how you handle those ideas. And then you will focus on writing for your reader. Now you try to seek that precision of expression for the benefit of the reader. Step 4 of thinking through writing is to look at the arguments that you are developing and making sure that they are balanced. Are these arguments drawing on different insights from different strands of literature? And are they making sense of any conflicting views or divergent views that might exist within the literature? What you have to do here is ensure that you provide transparency for the reader. They can audit your process leading to those arguments, and that there is balance, that you are showing that you have made an earnest effort to entertain the ideas coming from the different viewpoints. So this is the judge analogy that I like to use when it comes to academic writing. Make sure that the focus is on the level of the arguments and then the big ideas encapsulated within paragraphs. So having some kind of structure of the key points that you need to address in a particular section and what is supposed to be then addressed at the paragraph level. What are the big ideas that will be captured within a paragraph becomes the focus in this particular stage. Step 5, and this is also related to step 4, you will probably keep going back and forth between the two, is tracking emerging ideas. Because writing is thinking, it's inevitable that certain ideas are going to keep popping up as you go through the writing. And you want to make sure that you capture those ideas because some of them come to you as clear as day and they disappear into the night just suddenly. And you might spend years wondering what that idea was that you had that was so beautiful and now it's gone and probably for all time. So you have to have a way of making sure that emerging ideas, if you think they are valuable, whether immediately in relation to the project or might be useful for something else, you note them down. And it could be in physical paper. So whenever I'm working with projects that have an upcoming deadline, I almost cannot stop thinking about them. So I have a piece of paper or a book where I will jot things down that come to mind. So this way, again, it's something that's preserved for all time and I can be able to revisit it. So you will have to look at, how can I make my current work better? If an idea of that sort emerges, then you know that it's something that you have to address within this particular piece of writing that you are working on. But then some ideas come up to you as more like the kind of thing where you have an itch and you just need to scratch it so that you can get on with your life. So for example, it could be that, if time permits, I could have done this differently in these ways. So this is an itch that you just need to scratch. You make a note and then so next time you have time, you might be able to pursue that line of reasoning. Or it could be that it's interesting, it's not entirely related to the problem, but it's something that's valuable. So just allow yourself to scratch that itch so that you can be able to focus on the mission of finishing this particular piece of work. Step 6, now you really start to think about your reader. You try to enter the minds of your reader and you try to write as they would read because your whole process is a bit messy. It's not so straightforward. It has multiple iterations. It has a lot of going back and forth, but your reader doesn't need to get lost in those details. They just need to understand what the key messages are that are coming out of this involved process that you have gone through. So the precision of expression is presenting the work in the way that the reader would receive it and be able to make evaluations related to that. So the most important thing when you start writing for the benefit of the reader is that you yourself must have acquired that clarity of thought. You must understand what the problem is that you're presenting, what the contribution is, and what potentially the limitations are. So here you try to focus on the things that are really important, that are worth drawing the reader's attention to. So they might not need to know how many times you went back into the literature, but they will need to know which bits of literature you found to be valuable and what was the important information that you found within this literature. And also think about what they care about. So this is related to the previous point. There are things they couldn't be bothered with. They probably already appreciate this is very difficult work. So you don't have to remind them that it was difficult work, but really focus on the things that they will care about, that will be worth investing the time that they are going to invest in reading your work. And finally, simplify your language. Make sure your communication is straightforward, that you do not leave any room for alternative interpretations of the message that you are presenting, and that there is consistency in the key terms that you use. So for example, once you pick the word resilient in your writing, then make sure that whenever you're referring to resilient, this is exactly the word that you use. So the next time you have to write and you have to think through writing, then remember this mantra: write it right now. Now, write it right. Write it right now has 3 key steps. You first do a brain dump where you just write out all the things that are in your head without caring too much about whether they make sense or they are right. Then the second thing is that you sort through those ideas. You keep the ones that are valuable. You park the ones that could be useful for something else, and you discard everything else. And then you go through the process of interrogating those ideas, try to figure out if they make sense, work out if they are valid, and figure out if there are any knowledge gaps that you still need to fill for yourself before you start writing for another audience. The next big thing is now write it right. The focus is on precision of expression, and there are 3 key considerations related to this. One is making sure that your arguments are refined and balanced, and that you are presenting the big ideas in the right way at the paragraph level. The next one is keeping a track on any emerging ideas, and there are different classes of those. Some of them help you immediately with improving the current manuscript, so you have to attend to them right away. Some of these ideas could be about the improvements you could make if you had more time, or just some big ideas that could be nice to pursue in the future. So the last 2 are the ones that might give you a bit of an itch. You just scratch that itch by making a record that you can look at later. And then finally, you focus on your readers. So you write as your readers would read, and you focus on the things that they will care about, and you make sure that you simplify the language for their benefit. So this is it in terms of thinking through writing. Happy writing.